Senator Bell, we'll start with you. We've had news that the independent audit has certainly proved the doubters. You've raised, what, $2 million under 2 days? Talk us through this audit.
Well, it's if you have a check of the actual numbers now, I think we're creeping close to 3 million, which is amazing. And we're so grateful for everyone who's donated. But what occurred yesterday was a Prime Minister in denial. He was clearly rattled when he was asked about this, and he questioned the veracity. He's sort of fallen back on conspiracy theories. So we were quite excited when he said that, because we knew that around the country there was tens of thousands of people who had donated, looking at the receipts in their hand and going, well, this is definitely real. So what we did is we hired an independent auditor just to verify those claims, because they are real, and the people who donated are real, and they're mad. They're mad at a terrible government, a bad Prime Minister, because they've seen their standard of living collapse. And they have seen, the government's investment in climate change, destroying productivity, destroying energy prices and destroying their lives. So One Nation, we've come forward, we said, we'll scrap that, help us get rid of this bad Labor government, and the people of Australia have responded overwhelmingly in support.
And Senator Bell, I was going to ask you the same question that I asked Senator McKenzie about Jim Chalmers last night, talking about One Nation always votes to make life harder for people. What's your reaction to the Treasurer's comments?
I mean, again, it's just nonsense. What you've got there is slogans and spin from a Treasurer who's just desperate to hide the fact he's delivered one of the worst budgets in Australia's history. What One Nation has constantly done is vote against terrible Labor policies, including we'll vote against this budget too, because this budget's a tax grab, it reinforces wasteful spending, and it reinforces Labor's net zero obsession. And if we are talking about making things easier for everyday Australians, the number one thing we must be doing is scrapping net zero and restoring cheap energy for the people, businesses and families of Australia.
Senator Bell, on this as well, how do you balance the country's energy requirements with the need to lift economic output?
Well, let's talk about the Fire the Liar campaign, because what we've got is the country is suddenly realising the consequences of Labor lies when it comes to the so-called green energy transmission. And the reason why it's taking so long for these industrial solar complexes and wind turbines they're rolling across rural and regional Australia to kick to full capacity is because they were never going to reach that capacity that was promised. That was always a pipe dream. There was always a lie that the government was telling to trick people into supporting them. And we've seen the devastating consequences. We've seen power prices continue to skyrocket. We've seen businesses close. We've seen families hurt. What they used to be able to afford, they can no longer afford. When they're sitting around the kitchen table, their lived experience is things are harder, things are more costly. And it all comes back to this obsession that the Labor government has with net zero. And that is why One Nation is adamant we will scrap it. And we won't just scrap it by 2050, we are scrapping it forever.
All right,
One Nation will scrap net zero forever.